Welcome to this Simplify podcast. Today I'm joined by Nick Eatock, CEO of Intelliflo. I'm Emma Norris, Head of Portfolio at Simplify Consulting, and today we're going to be looking ahead to 2024 and what it's got in store for us in wealth as we go into this new year. Welcome, Nick. Great to see you again.
Morning, Emma. Nice to see you too.
And a happy new year to you.
Yes, absolutely.
When is it safe
to stop saying that happy new year bit? I think we're still good actually on the 5th of Jan.
We're still good. We are indeed. Right. So 2024 then, here we are in January, and looking ahead to this year, what are the opportunities that are out there in the wealth industry? What should we be looking forward to?
I mean, for the wealth industry as a whole, I think, or the wealth profession, I think this could be a really exciting year because I think it's dangerous to predict the future in terms of the markets, but things seem to be starting off on a better foot than they have before, and let's hope that continues. I think this is a really exciting year for what tech can do for the advice profession in general. I think we're going to see much more focus on using your tech to drive the whole advice process and to support advisors through that process without them having to go to multiple different areas and go out of system and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really good. I think Consumer Duty in part drives some of that behavior, and the tech solutions themselves do too. And then I think it feels to me that this is the year that AI starts having an effect. I think lots of businesses in all areas of the sector, whether they're advice firms themselves or technology providers or platforms and product providers, have all been experimenting, if you like, with AI over the course of 2023 and maybe a little bit before that. But it feels like 2024 is the moment some of that stuff comes home to roost.
Do you think there's going to be more consistent adoption of AI, or is it going to be very much the sort of fintechs or big tech versus the sort of old legacy platforms and so on? Do you think there's going to be more consistency?
I think there might be. I think the reality is I think we'll find advice firms in particular, and not all advice firms by any stretch of the imagination, but advice firms mature their capabilities around AI, hopefully supported by tech providers like ourselves and others in the market, but they mature their thinking. As always within any technology life cycle, there's the famous old Geoffrey Moore crossing the chasm chart, which talks about adoption and so on. And I think we still are in that early adopter territory, but the traditional Geoffrey Moore curve lasts quite long. I think this one's going to be a relatively narrow one where it moves pretty quickly through the gears. So I think we might even find a decent part of the early majority dealing with and properly enabling some AI elements into their business even by the end of the year.
And presumably that sort of early adoption is probably going to be around some of the efficiencies, isn't it, in terms of driving efficiencies through those businesses and so on, as opposed to maybe more the strategic uses that I imagine will take slightly longer to embed.
Yeah, the efficiencies are the easy ones to grab. The strategic stuff, is probably in some ways the more exciting stuff, because I think that has huge ramifications in a positive way for the end consumer, and that is the end consumer sometimes today who isn't a consumer of advice but could be more appropriately going forward. And I think that for me is the mid, I'm not even going to say long term now because it feels more like midterm, the midterm excitement. An opportunity for advice businesses to really scale, and clearly that only relates to those advice businesses that want to scale. A lot of advice businesses are lifestyle businesses, and that's absolutely fine. They may have relatively small client numbers, and that's fine too. But there will be I think a reasonable number of advice businesses that look at the opportunity that now exists, particularly supported by AI, but some other bits too. It's not all about AI, that enable that genuine wider access to advice. And that's something at Intelliflo that's our mission statement basically. And so to actually start seeing some of that come to fruition, I think is really, really, really positive.
Yeah, and a lot of that's around sort of personalisation as well, isn't it? So like you say, linking into consumer duty, but also widening the opportunity to hook more people into that advice journey and reap the benefits of it.
Yeah. That personalisation at scale is going to be something that really matters to the profession this year, and that will help provide maybe the platform or springboard to allow wider access to advice, and the tech will definitely support that.
Fabulous.
In fairness,
Okay, so
there are firms doing some of that stuff already today. So it's not like this is crystal ball gazing or blue sky too much. This is more just about how do we shift through the gears on that adoption curve, and I think that is happening really much faster than it ever did before.
Yeah, so the AI conversation will continue, but we expect to see more of that actually come into fruition, which is great. So looking at the challenges then, so we are hoping the markets are in a better place. We know there's some brilliant opportunities around tech to really drive wealth forward. What are the challenges that we're going to be seeing?
I think we continue to see a continued challenge with integration, and making all the different parts of the profession or industry as joined up as they can be. That's certainly something we're trying to solve in part with WealthLink. We think that will help by creating consistent user journeys throughout in an open architecture way. So I think that's going to be a part of the challenge, though, trying to see how widespread integration can be done. And it's not just between practice management and platform. There's a whole raft of different areas, different technology providers, and so on. Excuse me. So to what extent can that those blockers be overcome? And I think much of the tech these days is enabled. It's just not all the tech is, and even where the tech is enabled, how can we ensure that parties come together to really make the most of those API integrations to actually make them happen? The challenge with API integrations is it's only part of the story. It doesn't deal with the user journeys, and the user journeys are really, really important to think through here. I think that's going to be it's going to be the challenge this year to get that scale that I think we're all looking for.
Yeah, and I think that comes back again to the expectations and demands of the customer. So they are more and more demanding, aren't they, of that integration and not having handoffs and multiple systems and so on to work with.
Yeah, and those expectations go right through all types of customer. So if we look at our business, our customers are advisors and advisor firms. That's who we talk about, the customer. But you can also think about the end client out there, and yeah, their expectations are very different, I think, from where they were before, and they're expecting stuff just to be easier, and stuff in our profession isn't always easier, and it sometimes feels, certainly I've spoken with a number of advisors who've got clients who've got expectations that are over and above where they think those expectations would have been even just like 5 years ago. Probably the pandemic accelerated a lot of people's understanding of how things could knit together, and they kind of expect that of the advice profession. And there's no reason why they shouldn't expect that. That's absolutely where we need to get to. How quickly it can move to that, that's the $64 million question.
Absolutely. So I guess just thinking about workforce then. So have you got any kind of thoughts on where that's going this year in terms of, recruitment, demand in the market, where people are working, that kind of thing? Is there anything you expect to see different happen this year than previously?
I think probably AI is a quite interesting area there as well. So there's been talk in the marketplace about how AI could reduce the need for particular role types within businesses, particularly around the paraplanner marketplace and so on. And I think that'd be a real shame, because whilst that is one route that you could take as a business in terms of reducing headcount and the need there, I actually think utilizing the tech to do some of the so the admin intensive, but maybe not intellectually challenging, and things that people are designed to deal with, to just focus on that element, I think would be a mistake. So I would wholeheartedly encourage people to look at the technology not as a means to downscale, but even to upscale, but particularly to upscale their client base. So what I think that does mean is that recruiting in general, particularly in the admin paraplanner sector, but maybe even in the advisor sector, will have technology and data understanding in particular become a much more important, credible part of the domain. And consumer duty drives a lot of this, so consumer duty drives you to understand your client better, which means not just an individual client, but at a macro type level, which means you need to have better data collected about your clients, and you need to be able to analyze that data better. And so businesses are going to be thinking through that stuff more. And that doesn't just need to be about the very large advice businesses. That cuts throughout the entire sector. So getting that understanding, I think, will be important. I think this is a really exciting time for advice businesses, that next sort of generation of advice business staff, be they advisors themselves, or be they paraplanners, admin, whatever it might be, compliance staff, and so on. I think we will start to see that next level of adoption of understanding of what the marketplace looks like, and that will reflect its way all the way through into recruitment.
Yeah, we touched on that at the event last year, didn't we, in terms of those kind of support roles. So, for example, compliance you touched on there, but also risk is another good example of where the understanding of the tech and the opportunities and AI and the models that it's built on and so on are going to be all important for those roles and functions to perform appropriately going forward.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean those people necessarily need to be techies per se. I genuinely don't think that's the case. But they definitely have to have an interest in the technology. And more importantly, they need to be able to understand that there is data out there now that can support and influence their decision making. And so, looking retrospectively at what's happened is always important, and getting data to back up and support the decisions that you then make are a vital part of any business. But there's also like leading indicators, and understanding the leading indicators that you get from the data and what you think that therefore means, and then preempting that and making movements that support or improve or get you out of problems if it's going to be a problem statement. Those kind of skill sets and interest sets are going to be important for all walks of life. It's not just people in the compliance team. It's all parts of the advice industry.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick. So exciting times then. 2024 looks like it's going to be another busy one for everyone,
yes,
and plenty to be getting our teeth into. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us, and see you again soon.